Imagine if you can just think a bit and it moves. Well, that is possible. Recently, there have been a lot of research focused on using BCI, or brain-computer interface, to control robotic systems. Some of the main reasons are because of the downsizing and lower cost of EEG devices. The paper I will be focusing on proposed a hybrid brain-computer system based on SSVEP, or Steady-State Visual Evoked Potential, EOG, electrooculography, eye tracking, and force feedback system. Such an expanded system eliminates many of the particular shortcomings of previous BCI systems, such as the lack of assurance feedback. The researcher Arkadiusz from Poznan University of Technology tested this system using a virtual model and a real-life industrial robot. With the aim to provide better results in terms of accuracy, he hopes that this system can be expanded to help those that rely on wheelchair assistance. For this paper, the author built a hybrid brain-computer interface for controlling a 6-axis industrial robot. He implemented the graphical model of this robot in a Unity 3D environment. The system is based on an EEG headset from Emotive and also a visual system. Electrooculography, EOG, which is the method of acquiring information from your eye movements, was used to move the robot, where the signals are collected from the EEG headset. In this setup, a leftward eyeball motion caused the robot arm to move in a positive direction in a given axis, and a rightward motion caused the robot arm to move in a negative direction. Unfortunately, the system cannot simultaneously control the robot arm and change its axis. For this, the researcher implemented the BCI Steady-State Visual Evoked Potential method. This was used to select or switch to a given axis of the robot. How? Well, by blinking your eye. This part of the program was written in OpenVibe software. It was unclear to me why the researcher used this method, because later he mentioned that the involuntary blinking caused this method to fail to detect errors. For the novel part of the system, the researcher introduced the use of force feedback on the robot's position. The purpose of this device was to invoke the impression of force proportional to the signal from the robot tip. This should aid in minimizing errors when the robot tip is not always in the user's field of view. This force feedback device is said to be mounted on the user's shoulder. Unfortunately, there is no material to help visualize this for us. However, the pressure felt on a user's skin by the movable block should be inversely proportional to the distance between the robot tip and the obstacle in the environment. The closer the tip is to the obstacle, the more pressure the device exerts on the user's skin. The researcher created a central C++ program for this online system that is responsible for connecting all elements, such as for operating the feedback device, for implementing the API support from EEG headset, to even send and receive information about the position of the robot's tip. Basically, this program collects all information from all other systems. The first experiment instructed test users to move the robot tip towards the end of a virtual box within the shortest time possible. Afterwards, this was then done using the real-life robot with and without the use of the feedback device. In this study, users carefully stopped the robotic arm as close to the box as possible. The author highlighted that the main goal of this work is to prove that a hybrid BCI can provide satisfactory precision in robotic arm control to cope with difficult daily tasks. In both cases, the results with enabled feedback were better than those with feedback disabled, for both time and distances. As we can see, the average distance of the robot tip in both environments from the target is lower with feedback than without feedback. Overall, the time for the attempts with feedback in both cases were also lower. In the last test of this experiment, the test persons were tasked with sorting ball objects using the tip of the robot. The lowering of the ball was done by blinking the eyelid twice. The tests were carried out on a robot model and then confirmed on the real robot in various scenarios and attempts. The result of correctly sorting the elements using the hybrid BCI and force feedback turned on was found to be at 90% for both tests. Albeit, most of the errors for incorrect sorting was due to the small size of the box and the user insufficient field of view. Errors from throwing the ball into the wrong container resulted from accidentally triggering the down trigger, which is based on blinking. Nevertheless, in previous literature, most BCI systems only allow the selection of predefined programs. But for this paper, the researcher was able to build such an expanded system where users can easily feel and control a virtual and real robot for certain elements. The author envisioned that this research can be improved for those who need a system for controlling a wheelchair by means of a brain-computer interface and force feedback.